Ah, Not Quite Human 2, the movie that made me pretend to push floppy disks into my chest and wrap a lamp cord around my ankle and leave it there when I went to school as a kid. I started to half-review this movie in a narration test video I did a few years ago. The video cut off and left many things unsaid, which I'm going to cover in this video. This isn't really going to be a review, but more of a technical nitpick/nostalgia trip, if anything. But I'll be covering the entire film due to my obsession with it as a child, and I therefore need to say something about it. As I said in the last video, the film starts off with Chip wanting to both move on to the next level of education and strive closer to humanity. He's got a new arm concealed in his leg with some tools to help him out, and his innards look much different from the previous film. The program disc he uses to better control his facial motors is from the university he's attending. The robotic science team there who wrote the software included a virus to sabotage anyone in the robotics competition to ensure their prize money. This virus infects Chip and causes him to have hiccups throughout the film, which seems to clear his volatile memory and makes him forget what he's doing. This ends up making him do some pretty outrageous things.
My hands are still wet.
Why does some random virus work on his proprietary hardware and software? I'll be getting to that in a minute. As our astute antagonists have described, the virus is designed to affect androids, so you iPhone users aren't going to have to worry about this. So to simplify an otherwise convoluted plot about how viruses work, it's simply said that if it's an android, the virus will destroy it within 5 days. Similar to the effect of a killer virus in a human. However, they demonstrate the virus's destructive abilities on a PC, which obviously isn't an Android, so this means that Chip runs MS-DOS. The university science team must have assumed that all androids participating in the competition would use MS-DOS. Maybe that was in the rules or something. And it's just a coincidence that Chip happened to be running... You know what? I'm looking way too far into this. But I'll tell you one thing. A virus would never, ever do something like that. But cinematically, this scene makes you feel a bit more worried for Chip. But before the virus seriously takes its toll, Chip meets Roberta upon arriving to college, whom he apparently becomes infatuated with. He also starts to become accustomed to college life as his new roommate shows him the ropes on how to fit in. Unknown to Chip, his father is actually following him the entire time, with a remote receiver and portable TV of some sort to see exactly what Chip is seeing while he's running around following him. So a lot of stuff happens. Victoria Gray from the science team starts following Chip as well and meets his father, who both end up following him, and she overhears a conversation between them that confirms to her that he's an android, and yeah.
She's in her eyes.
The next day, Chip pays another visit to Roberta, except this time he's able to coax her out of the lab and convince her to come on a walk with him. They have a lot of unusual conversations. She doesn't have a trash compactor and only relies on volatile memory, since she is only a prototype. So she can't eat with Chip, and will forget all her experiences if she loses power. Chip becomes frustrated by her overly literal mind and her lack of free will, so he takes her onto the table and reprograms her. How does he know how to reprogram Roberta if he's never met another android before? Simple. She runs MS-DOS as well. So he's probably just writing a batch file or something. Now this scene could mean two very different things. One, he simply removed all the restrictions placed on her by the science team so she could explore and learn on her own, or he completely rewrote her entire system, which could have a very deep spiritual message behind it. Meaning that the one he ends up falling in love with is really himself, since he was responsible for Roberta's programming and thus personality. But Chip externalizes his love towards another. But since they're androids and this is a TV movie, I'm probably going to go with the former. Eventually, the science team shows up in the restaurant after having followed them to retrieve Roberta. The newly reprogrammed Roberta refuses and they make a pretty cool getaway. Roberta is even cloaked from their radar when they're holding hands. Aww. Unfortunately, by this time, the virus starts giving Chip more and more problems, making it difficult for them to run away from the goons now chasing them. After running around all night and into the morning, Roberta's power starts to run out and only has a few moments before her memory is wiped. Chip tries to save her, but is too late. Roberta quote-unquote dies, and Chip's system is brought to an almost complete halt by the virus. Luckily, Chip's father and Victoria joined forces earlier and were able to track Chip down and save him with the counteractive virus disk which they downloaded from the school's servers. They don't explicitly say they downloaded it, you just have to assume they have it because Jonas comes to save the day with that same blue computer disk that Dr. Miller was showing off that neither Victoria nor Jonas had access to. Although the recovery scene was more dramatic than realistic, it still managed to pull off a computer virus recovery scene pretty well. But that's not even the strange part. After it's all over and the scientists finally catch up to Chip and take Roberta away, Chip claims to have copied all of Roberta's personality information not only onto a floppy disk, but with his magnetic finger? We literally just saw his internal floppy drive being used. Why didn't he just use that? Wouldn't that be faster and easier? And wouldn't he have to spin the disk while he's writing to it? I guess he could use the arm in his leg to help him out, but good luck pulling all that off while lying in a dark, dirty shed while having your system compromised by a virus. And there's no way in hell that a highly advanced Android AI is going to fit on a floppy diskette. But hey, I can't expect the movie to be totally perfect and realistic. Only a few moments later, he gets in his dad's van, pops the disc into a computer, and picks up a phone and starts talking to Roberta. Damn!
What a nice rest.
That was a big relief when I watched this as a kid, thinking, oh thank God, he's got a backup. Whew! And it gives some closure to the whole Roberta situation. Oh yeah, and Becky breaks the fourth wall.
Who would have thought?
So yeah, that's Not Quite Human 2. It's a wonderful movie, especially for kids who are really into science fiction and robots. This movie, combined with Short Circuit, was my childhood in a nutshell. It really is a gem from the late 80s, even though it's just a TV movie. I highly recommend it. If you want to check it out yourself, just look for it on YouTube. The whole movie is up in parts for anyone to enjoy. I hope you enjoyed my little nostalgic review thingy. So until next time, this has been Jiraga1, signing off.